thinking through media.
But yeah, anyway, let's get to the thing. Because we're behind schedule. Sorry, everyone, that we...
Soz.
Yeah.
It was Samuel's fault.
It was Samuel's fault?
Yes, it was.
Samuel was here from how long? I thought he was going to be the late one.
I thought I was going to be the late one too.
But yeah, nah. Okay, so American Crime Story, OJ versus the People. All right. So, have you watched it recently?
I was just saying to Samuel, I was meant to rewatch it.
But you haven't.
I haven't. But
Guys,
I remember what happened.
Okay. Okay, next time we need to remember to do the homework, guys.
I know.
Alright, so the first question I have, the hypothetical question. Wait, actually, Sam, this is your first time joining us. You know how the setup works?
Nope.
No, okay, so the first section will be like 20 minutes where I'm going to ask, 10, 15, 20 minutes where I'll ask you a question and then we go on that question. It's like a hypothetical question. So it'll be like something that will put a bit of your personality in mixed with whatever we're talking about. It'll make sense when I ask the question. Okay. Second part will be us actually looking at the review. And so like actually looking at the TV series and reviewing it.
Okay.
So we'll look at like, oh, did we enjoy it? So and so, does it have replay value? Will we return to it? That kind of thing. Then in the third section, it'll be more deeper questions. Like we'll talk about like the race issues and stuff like that. Those are the kind of things. So deeper stuff, basically. So it's like we start off soft and then we get into the more substantial stuff. All right. Okay. So the first question I have, you'll appreciate this as well since you studied law. I really think you'll appreciate this question. So basically, imagine you're an attorney and both the dream team and the people are pitching their side of the case to you, and for you to join their team as either defense or prosecution, which side of the case would you choose? Okay, it's just because he's black.
Yeah.
I need to repeat the question.
That's what it was about. Like, you know that your client is in the wrong sometimes, but you just got to get them out.
That's what I was going to say. This is probably one of your questions, but I feel like he did it, but I feel like being on the defending team would have been better because it's like the way it was going, it was just like, it wasn't... Yeah, it wasn't really adding up, but it's like you knew he did it. You know, like
there was room for doubt. Definitely. Because I felt the same way. Because I was thinking,
but that's why this was so hit home quite a lot, because it would be different if it was as simple as OJ just murdered the girl and that guy, right? If it was that simple, fine, cool. I'll probably be on the opposing team. Do you know what I mean? However, because of the way it was going, like you was finding out about racist cops, you were finding about the eruption internally, like a lot of things came out about the police system through this case, which is why I would have I would have represented OJ, because it's not so much for OJ, to be honest, it's for the people. It's kind of like, look, OJ's a bad example here, but we can clearly see that if he didn't there's still, like you said, doubt that if he didn't murder these people, the way that the police system is going, you lot will try to pin it on him anyway. Do you know what I mean? With the whole glove situation, that it's like, you guys really want to bring a black man down. Why can't you just have the doubt that he probably didn't do it? Why is it so easy for you to just throw a black man in jail?
But it wasn't. It wasn't easy because it was like overwhelming evidence.
Of course.
But you mean in general? Why is it so easy?
It's like, why would it be so easy for you to just like put a black man in jail? If it was a white man in the same position, or Caucasian man, I should say, in the same position, it would have probably been along the trial, or there would have been some understanding. They would have gone as far as his mental health, as they did, his childhood. OJ didn't get none of that. Do you know what I mean? If he didn't have this team, they wouldn't have gone into his childhood like, oh, he probably had a temper, that's why he lashed out. You know, he's a celebrity, he's probably suffering with anxiety. All these little things. No one thought about that. He's a black man, let's put him down. Let's make a point out of him.
But the thing is, I think the way I'll disagree is because it was more like he's had like a history of domestic abuse with the ex-wife. So it was not necessarily about bringing a black man down. It became like he was basically like we know that he was guilty, basically. And then, because he had the history of, like, that domestic abuse.
Yeah, there was so much there.
The calls where she's, to 911, where she's talking about, he's going to kill me and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So, he's just lucky that they could draw on all those other things that you're talking about. Like, the agenda behind the police system, basically. This is systematic racism, basically.
Yeah.
So I think he was just lucky that he could do that, and it was like a counterbalance
because he's a public figure. So obviously we had that advantage.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if you think about it, as we sit here today, we're discussing the case as the case, but we're not thinking about what actually happened. OJ killed a woman. No one's thinking about that. 2 people died.
Yes.
But that is the least of our problems right now, because what we're trying to solve right now is the black man innocent? But the foundation of the case is just dismissed. It could have been anything. Do you know what I mean? He could have accidentally, I don't know, hit her with a bookshelf or something, but no one cares about how she died. It's just the fact that he's on trial. That when people think of OJ and what happened, no one's thinking about the 2 people that died.
Man on trial,
people are just thinking about the man who got put on trial. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like it's just become so much more than what he was arrested for. Like you said, it became a lot more political, racial. A lot of things came out rather than the basis of a man that actually killed 2 people. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it involved, like, it represented a bit more than what it was, than the actual situation.
And that's why I would have defended, because it's like, okay, he killed, let me not say it like that, but you know what I mean? That's how everyone looks at it.
The evidence points towards
he killed the 2 people.
Yeah, the evidence was all there. The dream team did a dream work.
Yeah. Manna from heaven. Really
basically.
was. Like, the fact that they got those tapes and everything at the end, and then it had the actual person who found the evidence talking about, we need to frame these guys, we need to frame them and all that stuff. Frame black people. You remember that part?
No.
You don't remember that part?
No.
That was like the big part of the whole...
What, at the end of this whole...
remember that they showed the tapes. And then and they were arguing about whether they should show the tapes or whether it will be...
Oh, yeah.
Or whether it will just affect the case. And then there was like a whole thing where even the judge, there was like a... Not corruption, but like... Not shady, but, you know, basically the whole thing about his wife not telling the full truth when she signed the papers. About knowing this...
the police officer. Yeah, and the judge.
Yeah, so then it became a whole thing. And then they showed, like, the tape. I forgot how they went into the tapes, but it became a big kerfuffle, basically. And then they showed the tapes, and then the tapes had him saying, we need to frame these people. They talking about beating and abusing black people and stuff like that. Do you remember it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of thing. So once I heard that, I was like, he can't not go free from hearing that.
But that's what I mean, no one really cares about that. I mean, the OJ part. It's more like, guys, your system is corrupt. He's just an example here. He's a project to the dream team. No one cares about I keep saying it. It's like, he's just a project. It's like an example being made that, okay, fair enough, he's on trial, cool, but guys, your system is disgusting. It's corrupt. Like, if this didn't happen, those tapes wouldn't have been released. Do you know what I mean? We probably wouldn't have. We didn't make huge progress in the in the legal system. But like, at least this brought some light into, you know, a lot of Caucasians were in the shadows before this case. Like, wow, like, you could actually pin things on black people, because a lot of people had trust in the police system. But before this kind of case came out, before these cases were made public, a lot of people would believe that the police is just honest and 100% loyal. Like, corruption wasn't really a spoken thing. Do you know what I mean? But this kind of led some kind of sparked something in people's brains, like wow, okay, possibly, don't get me wrong, Caucasians might not care, but at least they can't deny that they don't know that this is going on. Do you know what I mean? This kind of thing is going on with evidence showing. So, if you get what? No,
I get what you mean. As in, like, it kind of, you know how, like, everything seemed like, it's objective. They showed that it's not as objective as you think, and there is an agenda behind all this policing. Policing isn't necessarily for the best interest of the people. It might not necessarily be for the best interest for the people. It's the best interest for those who are dominant in that society. but it's not for the general population.
And wasn't this like around the time where like all like rap groups and musicians were like sort of out in the police, like niggas with attitude?
That was 91. Yeah.
Yeah.
91.
So like it's kind of like.
Oh no. Niggas with attitude is 80s, late 80s, I think. But 91 is like when Tupac came. And stuff like that.
Everyone was just like the police, like black people and all of that. And so it's like. It was at that time where everything was being exposed.
Yeah. Because I felt like before that, they would kind of see it like, they kind of see us like, oh, kids just crying.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shut man. Like, it's not that bad. Like, we all get treated the same. But it's like, guys, hello.
Yeah, it's true. No, we don't. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was like concrete evidence that no,
we don't.
Yeah, pretty much. But, to be honest, I couldn't answer that question. I couldn't answer the question whether, if they were to pitch their side to me, the Dream Team and the people, I don't know if I would be able to defend OJ because I know he did it.
That's what I'm saying.
For me, I'm just like, I know, because I know it. Like, I know, it was just like, but at the same time, I wanted him to get off free because I was thinking, like, all these Rodney King tapes and all that stuff, like, and the riots and all that stuff, I was thinking it's like it's a counterbalance and a slap in the face and kind of like showing that, look, you've done injustice to us for how long? Now you're seeing the one bit of injustice.
Basically. So
it's kind of like swallow it kind of thing, because this is just one out of how many injustices that you've done to black people for how long? That kind of thing. So I'm not mad at the way it went, but I couldn't see myself contributing to that. If that makes sense. I couldn't see myself contributing to getting him off.
Yeah. It's because at the end of the day, what he did, it's a bit mad.
Still not proven.
It's not proven. Yeah. Okay. It's not proven.
Okay.
Still
what he allegedly did. It's so mad because I swear like he like slaughtered them or something like that. Like it was very extreme the way he killed them. Yeah. If it was him. The murderer. So it's just like, like somebody doing that, whether they're black or white or Chinese, like that's a bit mad still. So it's like to defend someone who could have done that is a bit, it's a bit weird and scary.
Yeah.
I would have still been on the defense team.
You would have still been.
Like watching it, you do think, oh, like did he do it? Like, and then you're jumping back and forth, like, okay, maybe he didn't. Okay, maybe he actually really did. And it's just, never know.
Yeah, that's
actually never know.
I think that's what attracted me to the show, because it was as if, like, I was thinking, he did it, man. He got the cut. Like, he had the cut on the he had the cut. I was like, nah, he definitely did it. I was like, but then again, when I'm hearing all this other stuff, I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't. There's actually like
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible.
That's the mad thing. Yeah. It's not an impossible
The thing is, I don't think he did it. I think he got someone else to do it for him, but...
OJ is connected like that.
Who knows?
I don't know.
But at the same time... It was two people again, and there was a possible affair. So
possible affair.
There's that.
Yeah, that was motive. That's what they kept on saying. That's motive for him to do it.
Yeah,
and it seemed like
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I would think that he did it himself.
And the fact he just flew away and everything, it was a bit. He probably didn't know how to deal with it. He's not exactly the smartest man in the world.
Yeah, the fact that when I saw that for the first time, I was just when I saw that on there, I was like. Man, I was drawn in from him. I was drawn in. But I was going to say, do you feel as though there was an unbiased approach the creators took towards the dramatization of this? Like the fact that we're talking about, he could, he couldn't. Do you feel like the creators made it kind of unbiased?
Yeah, I feel like they did. Because at times I feel like with their intention, they wanted people to feel like, okay, he did it, and then at times feel like, okay, he didn't. Mm-hmm. So that gives it its unbiased approach, sort of thing. Because if it was a case of like, making the Dream Team look like really like,
silly,
then we would have thought that, okay, he did it the dream king are all lying. But you know, the way they did it was really good.
But at the same time, apparently there was something missing, because it was something about the Louis Vuitton case. I forgot what it was, but they missed it out in the film.
What's the Louis Vuitton case?
The case where he put his clothes, where the clothes were, because somebody got a video. Somebody got a video recording of what was going on outside of OJ's mansion with Rob Kardashian, and Rob Kardashian passed the case to someone, but one of the photographers caught that footage, but that was not put in the show, because in the show it was shown as though the bag was empty or something. Do you remember?
Oh yeah. Oh, you're talking about
the Louis Vuitton case, but that's not what happened apparently. I'll get my facts straight, but basically...
Oh, but you don't know what actually happened when they opened the case?
The case, yeah.
Bits were like missing.
Bits were missing.
Okay.
So it does seem like it could favour OJ a bit, and where they tried to like criminalise or whatever the opposing party, like just make them really unlikable, don't you feel?
Yeah.
They made them really unlikable, like you really didn't want them to win. Like that woman seemed like a bitch, and that black man seemed like a pagan. You know what I mean? Like...
It's true though. Yeah.
Like you're just looking at him like, and anytime he was like going up against the opposing party, it's like he'll say stuff, and I'm just there like, you're a brother. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
Oh, like when he was talking about don't use the N-word because it will just blind people to the truth.
Yeah, he said something controversial, and I was just there like,
really?
Yeah. Yeah, and then he slept with that white woman as well.
No, he didn't.
Oh well, they had her something. I was just like, this. I don't like them. Like they really made them unlikable in this show. Yeah, like that one with a bad haircut. Like I forget
Marcia.
I hated her.
You see,
but I felt bad for her.
Like,
she was like the only female or whatever on the team, and I was just like, as a woman, I need to stand up for you.
Yeah. You know what? She went through it.
Yeah, she did.
She really did.
Yeah. The thing is, you're touching on a question I was going to ask in the later part, but we'll talk about it now. I was going to say, do you feel like Marcia Clarke is an accurate representation of the undue burden that women carry when trying to be successful in male-dominated fields and professions?
1,000%.
Definitely. It was played very, very well.
Yeah.
Like the whole, I think her ex-husband done something public. Was it released?
Yeah, she was like, she was dealing with.
Oh, she released naked pictures when they were on holiday. That was untasteful. Like,
and the thing is, if that was a guy, like again, it's the whole double standard thing. Like it really just brings it to light, and it's quite disgusting that in the courtroom she could still fake. She's the only woman on the case. You know what I mean? And it's like. They've done a good job in showing that. And, you know, the standards of beauty, now that, you know, it's on TV and a lot of people are intrigued with the case, you need to look a type of way. There's that pressure. No one told the black guy to go trim his beard. Well, they probably tried to, who knows. But, you know what I mean? But there was a lot more pressure. There was just a lot more pressure on her to suit a standard and...
Yeah, stop appearing. That's where they were like, stop appearing so like mad or grumpy.
They had like a I forgot what it's called, but basically a guy doing like a research experiment, and he was seeing how people rate each person in the case. So let's say Johnny, how they find him, how they find Marcia, how they find Darden. But actually, no, Darden wasn't on the case then. But yeah, how they find each one and how they rate her, rate them. I think they rated her a 4, and they rated Johnny a 6. I think average. Yeah. But yeah, they were saying that she seemed like a bitch or something like that. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
And she had to listen to all of that. I can't lie, I did laugh at that scene. I really did. But it was very... No one should have to go through that.
No one should have to go through that. Especially the haircut as well.
Yeah.
The hair, he came in thinking she was bomb, and then she was proper like flicking it, and then everything came in, and then it was like...
You guys are
the way the show was going, I thought she was going to get a makeover. And I was expecting it to turn around like some Disney movie where it's like, and then the way they showed the haircut after, I was like, is this it? So I was watching it like, is this actually the haircut? But then I was sort of relieved when she walked into the courtroom and everyone laughed, because I was like, alright, so it's not just me. Because I thought the show was trying to show that, yeah, she's beautiful now, and like, she's...
No, that's what I thought. I was thinking, I didn't feel any type of way to the haircut. I didn't think it was that, like, I didn't feel like it was, oh my god, what did you just do? I didn't feel like it was like, ooh. Yeah, I was just thinking, but the show made it like the way she walked through security, like, hey guys, like, you know, she was feeling herself, and I was like, yeah, nah, same.
Like, it might be a makeover, which I probably just don't see.
No, but it was notorious for like being a bad haircut. But
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It was a very bad look.
Yeah, but
yeah, I did feel sorry for her, even though she was very.
Did feel bad for her.
Yeah, I felt bad.
Like, you get like that. Like, I could just imagine the stress that she must be going through.
Because the thing is, she knows she's right, which is what's annoying. Because if you look at it from our standpoint as just the viewers, from an unbiased eye, she's actually not racist.
No.
She hasn't made no racist points or anything. Everything she said has been to the book.
Yeah.
She has argued to the law the best way she can.
Yeah.
She's in the world of law, that is the perfect way to argue in court. She's the perfect model for court. But it's a thing where, well, on her standard, she's a woman, so everyone's just watching her, and it's like she's been made a fool out of for just doing her job.
Yeah.
It's kind of like someone telling you something, but you know it's true. Like, you're black, and I'm telling you, you're not black. You're not black. You're not black. But you're there like, no, but I am black.
Yeah.
I'm black. This is why I'm black. And that's why I'm black. But I'm just there like, but you're not black.
Yeah, so...
But you're clearly black. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%.
So she's arguing a case which is, in itself, she's in the right. Let's just say...
Yeah.
She is in the right.
In the eyes of the law, she is arguing correctly. That case should have been shut down from as soon as she opened her mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, 100%. She's in the right. But she's in the right in a system that's in the wrong.
Yeah.
So that's
exactly.
So that's why it's like she's not seeing that in the bigger scope of things. That's the reason why people are arguing for the other side. So yeah, pretty much.
Cool, man.
Yeah, no, I did feel sorry for her because I kept on feeling like because I felt like a mixture towards her. I was feeling like she's too stern, too stubborn to kind of see like. This is not just about murder, and it's not just about domestic abuse. I think more so her agenda is to kind of, she does have an agenda as well, because she has an agenda to catch people that domestically abuse their wives. And because I don't know if you remember at the end, she said that she got raped.
Yeah.
So then that's her own agenda. So then that's why she's so. I think that's where the blind spot comes in, where she's not seeing
the motivation came in.
Yeah. So then that's where she's not seeing that this is even Johnny. Like she's not seeing that even her and Johnnie Cochran have a lot in common, in the sense that they're both fighting for what they think is right. Like Johnny's fighting for the fact that. He's seen too much racism going on, so much brutality, police brutality, so on and so forth. And then she's coming from the experience of being abused.
Yeah.
And like...
Basically women aren't minorities, but you get
two exploited groups or oppressed groups. Two oppressed groups, that's what I should say.
Two oppressed groups.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically... domestic abuse versus systematic racism.
Well, women versus black people. And, well, not versus women and black people. Women, obviously, you guys got your thing going on. Black people also have their thing going on. And
Okay. But I'm going to ask, did the fact that you already knew the verdict of the case affect your viewing experience of the series? Like, as in when you watched it, even though you know that he got off, did it kind of make you feel like, I already know what happens at the end, so you weren't really too interested? But no, you just still like kind of engaged, thinking, what's going to happen next?
I didn't really, prior to watching this, I didn't really know much about the case apart from that he got off. So it was like, even though I knew the verdict, it was kind of like, okay, now I know. Like, it was like, now I'm the detective and I'm trying to, find all these things. And so it's like, it kept me engaged because it was just like, there were so many different factors in between of the murder happening and him getting off. So it was like, to get to see all of that and see how they got to that verdict as well.
Yeah.
It was just it was really interesting.
Yeah, 100%. I feel the same way. It was like, I didn't know much about the case as well. And I didn't go into it like with such high expectations. Like I didn't know much about it, and I didn't feel like people was hyping it up, but I was thinking, let me give it a shot. Then when I gave it a shot, the first episode, I was hooked. I was like, I need to find out what happens next. Need to find out what happens next. Need to find out what happens next. And it was just like, it was just revealing of all this different aspects of the case. I didn't know anything about the case before. Didn't know anything about it before. So you felt the same, Sam?
Yeah. The exact same way as Gladys. I didn't follow the case beforehand because, I studied law. So outside of my degree, I like to relax. So I tried to stay away from legal stuff. So when the hype was happening, as you know, I jumped on it quite late. But
when did you watch it?
I watched it this year. Just this year? Yeah, just this year. I didn't watch it before because everyone was hyping up. I was like, you lot don't have to go through it on a day-to-day basis, so you lot enjoy that. But otherwise, I knew the verdict, but that's just through popular culture.
Yeah.
Like, did he do it? You watch shows and
the glove.
You know he done it. You know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So through that, I was interested, but I didn't know anything about it at all before watching it.
When did it come out? It came out 2000
It was when I was in uni.
It was when I was in uni, so it must have been 2015 or 16?
15, 16?
I thought it was 16.
Yeah, one of them anyway. So do you feel like this dramatization managed to capture the time period or widespread pandemonium well?
Yeah, because I feel like that generation were living in a cocoon, if that makes sense. They needed to be shown this.
What generation?
The generation who were actively watching these things, like the news at the time, they kind of like our parents. I should just said that. Yeah, our parents' generation, for example, they kind of like live in a cocoon where what they see is what they get. So it's like you watch the news. This has happened in Turkey. Cool, that's it. Whereas our generation, we like to go deeper into topics. We like to Google and go on Twitter and find out what's really going on. But at the time this was going out, it was made public, so our parents were able to follow it and whatever. So instead of living in that cocoon, they're coming to the realization that, you know what, the system is very corrupt. Like, it's a thing where we kind of, well, not we, but the older generation knew about it, because they'll always like train us to be ready for dealing with police or whatever. So they always knew the law doesn't work in their favour. But to the extent where it's like they could send you to prison for something you didn't even do, it was really important for this to be shown.
Oh, so you feel like that's their cocoon, the fact that they didn't know that you could do that. You could be sent to prison for that. Is that what you're saying?
Because it's kind of like
but I feel like they did know that.
It's kind of like, it wasn't confirmed. It wasn't confirmed. Okay, so it's kind of like you just saying, when you go out, just make sure that you stay on this street because you don't want the police to come and find you. Just that you'll go to prison. It's like just talking in the air, but they're not talking from a place of experience.
Oh yeah, so like one of them things like it's never happened.
Yeah, it's never happened, but you just know. But this is like confirmed, like raw. Like you can actually just get stopped one day, and you know there's still a chance that they could pin it on you just because you're black. Do you know what I mean? Like this just needs to be shown publicly. White people need to see it, to see that, you know, we face these battles, and black people need to see it as confirmation that, you know. Are you talking
about the actual case, or are you talking about the dramatization of it?
Well, the actual case.
I was talking about the dramatization of it.
The dramatization of it, and what, like how it was being acted.
Has this kind of like, let's say, watching this, do you feel as though it's given you an insight into how it was at that time and all the madness that happened around that time, why it was such a hyped up case?
Yeah, I guess I could just bring my argument into it in that sense. Yeah, because again, it was, you know, made public. So yeah, I felt like it was quite accurate. It was, I forgot the word, but
I feel like in the show, they could have shown how it was portrayed to the media a lot more.
You reckon?
Yeah, because I felt like it was proper, like in the, like this was shown from inside the case sort of thing, whereas they could have shown like how the public were viewing it. a lot more. So it could see how it was a sort of wide world thing that was going on, like literally how people were reacting to it, how it was actually like on the news like every day, and people were like, oh my gosh, like how they were feeding into it sort of thing. Because it felt for me like, okay, yeah, this is a big case because I'm watching it on the TV and it's a show, but at the time, was it as much of a big case as they're portraying it in the court?
Yeah,
sort of thing. I felt like they could have sort of
shown the public's consumption of it rather than.
But they did, didn't they?
They did. But she's saying that a little bit more. But I feel like they did enough from in my point of view. But I see what you mean, because you do see, let's say, certain times where they're watching a football game and then they'll cut it and then they'll put it on to the Bronco chase or something like that, or you'll see like the public uproar at the divide between how the public was with, like, let's say some people for OJ, some people against, and when they actually heard the verdict, how like mostly white people were disappointed and mostly black people were celebrating, that kind of thing. So I think they showed quite a little bit here and there. But like you said, they were inside the case, so then it was a bit less focus on that. But I guess it would have done better to kind of have that to show how the public received it a bit more. Because like you don't really hit, like you see like certain scenes where, let's say, Darden's family are watching the case or something like that, but you don't really see you don't really get their kind of personality
and reactions to it. Like, okay, we know that it's on everyone's TVs, but how are they feeling about this? How are they, like, how is it, what are going through their minds at this time? Like, are they feeling like, okay, he did, like we are, he did it, but because he's a black man, I'm gonna say that he didn't do it or whatever. Do you get what I mean? It would have been, like, obviously, it's just a show, but, and there's only so much time they can put onto the show, but like, that would have been. I
feel like now I'm thinking of more situation when they did, like, you know, at the barbecue where they're saying, oh, they believe that OJ didn't do it, and also like when they were talking about when they were doing the Bronco chase where everyone was watching and saying, go OJ.
I'm screaming.
And so then they'll, like, interviewers talking to them saying, oh, how do you feel about
And
then I feel like that was their way of summarising it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just the summary, like,
they
just an overview of people's reactions. Because they'll just show, like, students sitting in a bar, like you said, just to show, okay, people have...
Actually engaged.
People are engaged. They'll just be in bars watching it. But,
Okay.
Can you ask the question again, please?
Oh,
I quite understood it.
Okay, I said, do you think that this dramatization managed to capture the time period or widespread pandemonium well?
Yeah, I feel like people just saw it as entertainment. It's Americans, isn't it?
So true.
You know what I mean? Like, they probably didn't see the deepness of it as certain groups would have seen it, but they literally saw it as entertainment. Like, the little cuttings that you saw, people would tune in out of sheer entertainment. Like, they'll come home from work or school, sit down, and they'll just engage in this case. So it was more, entertaining, like, especially the chase. Like, you could just see people's reactions. This is a man who possibly killed 2 people, who's just going free on the freeway. And you're just like, woo!
Driving around like this is GTA.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and they're just there cheering, like, this is a serious matter here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like,
it caught a balance of how serious it was as well as how...
If that was happening now, it would have been a different reaction. But back then, I thought, like I said earlier, people are just living in a cocoon. Like, it's just like... You're just in your own world. It's not real to you, especially because it's on TV. I don't feel like people would take it that seriously, if that makes sense.
Oh, so so you're saying that, like, do you call it the analog era? Like TV and stuff before the internet, basically.
TV was like a dream.
Yeah, so like, let's say,
you
know how like we used to view America and everything like that before.
Yeah.
It's kind of changed because now it's like we realize that it's not dreamland anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a place where you visit and then it becomes a sitcom.
It's like retail. You've got the shop floor, which looks lovely. and then you got the stock room. You know what I mean? Then you got the back of house.
Yeah.
That's what we were seeing. We were seeing the loveliness, the facade, everyone doing lean with it, rock with it, and all of this. Like, we were seeing that part of America. But it's only recently where we're seeing police brutality, and that everyone there is, well, most people there are buck wild. Like, they're actually crazy. Do you know what I mean? There was a time where I thought I wanted to settle down there. Now,
listen, I wanted to go to school there, be a cheerleader, get my little boyfriend, like...
America was
eating candy.
I'm even scared to go on a plane there. Like, I mean, I've been to America enough times, but it's like the plane journey there is not as civil as like going to the Caribbean or going to Africa.
Why'd you say that?
Because, like, on the plane to the States, you're like, who is this? Everyone looks scary. Anything can happen. Like, everybody looks suspicious. You're just on that plane for, like, 6 to 12 hours. Like, everyone looks like, why is that person getting up? Where are they going?
You're always like that, though. Even on the underground, you're like...
With good reason. Like, but yeah.
To get back to the thing. Okay, so I was going to say, what do you think of the dichotomy between Johnnie Cochran and Chris Darden? The dichotomy. It's like the two sides of one thing. Like, so you have the black guy that's fighting for, like, being objective and fighting even against the brothers. Okay. And then you have Johnnie Cochran who's for the people, the black people. So dichotomy just means like two sides to one thing. So then you have like a black person who will try and keep, stay objective. And just like fight for whatever he thinks is right. Regardless of race or whatever like that. But then you have like Johnnie Cochran, who's motivated by the community, that kind of thing. So I'm saying, like, what do you think of like them being opposed to each other? How do you feel like the creators did it? Do you feel like they did it well? Do you feel like it captures kind of like the don't want to say struggle, that's not the word, but the conflict? You know, like how I felt like I couldn't be a Johnnie Cochran. I couldn't do what Johnnie Cochran's doing. Okay. But at the same time, I couldn't be what Darden's doing. So then that's like the conflict there. Yeah. But at the same time, I see that Chris Darden's right to do that, but I couldn't do that because obviously it does look like you're against like your identity by doing that.
Yeah, I feel like there was just two different messages. There's just a man who wants to do his job. Do you know what I mean? He's a lawyer, he wants to fight what's right, he's doing it by the book. And then on the opposing side, there's a man who just wants to prove a point that black people are going through this, that and the other. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, not that it's like two different, do you get what I'm trying to say? Like two different arguments, but it's like there's just one guy who's more passionate about it because of black people, and he's like a black activist and everything. And the other side, he just wants to get through this case and move on to the next case. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like they probably saw it's just two different sides. Am I making the right point with this question?
I get what you mean. As in,
wait, what was the question again?
It was just basically what do you think of like basically the opposition between both those two characters? Do you feel like
I felt like it kind of worked in the case because, like, on paper, if you was to look at them, you'd think, okay, it's like, you know, sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. On paper, if you were to look at them, you'd think, okay, like this would be a fair case. Do you get what I mean? Because had the two been on opposite teams, it would have been a lot more, okay, this is a race thing sort of thing. Yeah. Do you get what I mean? That. So
if they
had been on opposite teams, so they switched over.
Okay.
And Johnny wasn't on the dream team.
Yeah.
Like he was.
And he was on the people's team.
Yeah. And they had swapped roles. It would be like a lot of like a race.
Why would it be more of a race thing in that sense?
Because I feel like Johnny being for the people helped.
No, Johnny was for OJ.
Wait, I'm confused.
Johnny was on the dream team. The dream team is
that's what I meant. So Johnny's John Travolta, right?
No. Oh, no.
So all this time I thought he was John.
No. Get out.
I'm screaming.
Because I've just been following like.
Wait, which one's Johnny then?
Johnnie Cochran, this guy, the one with the mustache. Yeah.
Okay, and
so
John Travolta is the other one.
Yes, but his name in that is Bob Shapiro.
That's it. Okay. So we're talking about the black guy.
Yes.
That's what I've been saying, the black guy.
And
the black guy and the other black guy, the bald-headed one, the one that likes the Marcia.
Oh, okay. What's the question again?
You should be ashamed of yourself.
I was thinking about two completely different people. But yeah, what's the question again?
What do you think of the dichotomy? So the opposition between Johnnie Cochran and Chris Darden. So the fact that there is like a black guy who's fighting for domestic abuse because he knows that OJ did it, and even though he's in the right, it's kind of like you're still like a traitor to the black community for doing this, even though you are like being reasonable. It's still like how could you do this to us? But at the same time, you have Johnny who's kind of not blind to the truth, but he's kind of overlooking the fact that he actually did it, if that makes sense, or he could have done it. Because if he was doing it for, I think his motivation is to kind of like just seek some sort of retribution or some sort of justice for the black community. To the point where it's like it doesn't matter if OJ actually did it, as long as that there's a sliver of doubt and there's like a sliver of corruption, then it doesn't matter. I
feel like it just helps show like the industry for what it is, because it's like people have their own motives regardless of like their skin color, if you get what I mean, because they're both black, but they've both got their own sort of like viewpoints. It doesn't matter if like, you know, you're white. Not that it doesn't matter, but like even like with the police system, you'll still get black police like stopping innocent black people on the roads and stuff like that. I think it's just like the industry that you're in being corrupt, regardless of you know.
I felt like the bald guy was more willing to get on with it because again, that's his job. So he just wanted to conclude it. Whereas Johnnie Cochran wanted to prove a point about black people in general. Do you know what I mean? So, it's more like he's trying to stress out a point, whereas the bald guy just wanted to be like, let's just wrap up this case. He murdered him. Let's go. By the book, he murdered him. Whereas he's like, no, he didn't just murder him. How do you know he murdered him? You know what I mean? Like, how do you know? Because he black? Because that's his mentality. You know what I mean?
Because even what you're saying is true, because if you remember that there was like a new, like, he was about to talk on camera, and then someone asked him if he would be on that case, and he's like, that's a losing case, I'm not on that, that kind of thing. But then at the same time, his wife, when he talked to his wife, and she was like, how would you feel if someone else did it? Someone else got him off, would you feel right? And so it seems as though his motivation is for not necessarily a challenge, just a challenge, but for the bigger picture, like the purpose for black people. He seemed like he is an activist, and he will go to any lengths to kind of get retribution or justice for black people.
It was kind of bad the way it was done, because he got put on the case, the bald guy got put on the case because of his skin tone. Do you know what I mean? So it's just that putting two black people up against each other, because it's kind of like being in the workplace, especially in my experience. There's always two black guys to one floor. So it's like me, and then there'll be another black guy, and it's like we won't like each other, even though we should stick together. Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of like we just know, like, we don't want to talk to each other because in front of these white people, they might think that we're some brotherhood. So I'm not gonna F's with you until probably 3 months or just the week I'm about to leave. Do you know what I mean? It's like
the token black people.
The token black people were just against each other, like for no reason, and even the white people wouldn't think to introduce the only two black guys. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't want that awkwardness. So it's kind of like them, like, everyone is white, but then the two people on the case that are head to head, there's obviously Marcia, a woman, but then the black guy against the black guy, that was more entertaining. So it didn't really help, and it started to get a bit personal. Not even a bit, it got very, very personal. Very personal. It started to become quite competitive, which again, I could see in my day-to-day in the workplace. It's not nice, but
happens.
It happens. Okay. I'm going to move on to some deeper questions. Okay, I'm going to quote something. I'm not black, I'm OJ. So apart from Jay-Z, what is the first thing you think of when you hear this? And does this show a lack of pride, lack of black pride, or simply not wanting to be defined by certain characteristics?
I'm not black, I'm OJ.
Okay.
At first I thought,
when you heard
who's this black? Like, but then I think it's deeper than that. Like,
I'm not black, I'm OJ.
because from one perspective you could see it as he's just, how can you say that you are black? Like you, like you're like, how can you not have pride in being black and you want to be your own person and not stand with the community, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can kind of see that.
yeah.
It's like, why should I be bracketed into black?
Such a... Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially as a celebrity on a pedestal sort of thing.
Yeah.
Being black is always like being defined by being black.
Like
every
under
black
glass,
person.
and there's characteristics that come underneath being black, and then there's OJ, which like he went golf with his friends, or like he's clearly of a different caliber. So it's like, he's OJ. If this case was to be any random guy from, I don't know, the hood somewhere, it's like that case would not have been dealt with the way it was dealt with. But because this is OJ, he's the people's person. Like, white people loved him, black people loved him. He's just a public figure. That's why that probably added to why he got why the case got dropped the way it did. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Nah, wait, hold on. Explain it a little.
Because it's OJ, it got dealt with a lot more lightly. Well, it wasn't dealt with lightly. I used the term lightly quite loosely, but just imagine if it was just a normal black person. And I'm saying normal black person because OJ isn't a normal black person. Does that make sense?
You mean as in like
arrest Raphael from Halston High Road, and this case was on TV because, you know, it's just been publicised. No one's gonna care, this, that, and the other. Even the jury won't even care that much. They probably won't even look into the case as deeply because it's just some random quarry.
But do you think that is because he is a celebrity and not just OJ?
Exactly.
So if it happens to Jay-Z, do you think the same outcome?
No, because Jay-Z's black, if that makes sense. I know. Oh yeah, I know that. He doesn't like he does stereotypical black. He's more of the black community than OJ, who had prominently white friends, which was clearly highlighted in the show. Like this guy hangs out with only white people. Like all his friends are white. His best friend is that's the only exception. You know what I mean? But otherwise, you've got Jay-Z, who probably still hangs out with his homeboys. Obviously, he had a very public friendship with Kanye, for example. On the opposing side, OJ's best mate was with Rob Kardashian, who is not successful, but he was a doing well lawyer. Do you know what I mean? R.I.P. So there's clearly R.I.P. There's clearly a difference, kind of like, OJ's white, basically. If he wasn't in this case, and if he carried on with his life, he'll just be OJ. He'll be white.
Wait, sorry, who did you say R.I.P. to again? I missed that.
Rob Kardashian.
He died.
Time ago.
When?
You don't know he's dead?
Did they say it at the end of the thing?
No. They did. He died of
wasn't it like
he died of I don't like it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, my bad. Yeah. Oh, actually, before I forgot to ask this question. What do you think of the casting?
They've done a good job. Because I feel like if they use an A-star cast, you'll get distracted from the show.
Yeah.
I feel like it was an A-star cast though. John Travolta.
It was,
B-list.
John Travolta's...
John
Travolta's A.
Yeah, he is A. Okay.
He is A.
John Travolta's
A. Okay. He's not God level, but he's close.
In that case, he must have got paid a lot more. Because if they was to hire a cast on John Travolta's level, this will be not even budget. They won't have enough money to fulfill this. So what is this, FX?
Yeah,
they wouldn't have had the budget.
Yeah, I think there was a nice balance of the cast.
Balance. It was just John Travolta that you can pinpoint as an A-list.
And
everyone else has a Netflix
I recognised Thingy from Friends, who was Rob Kardashian.
He's a B-list.
Yeah, he is.
Friends cast are B-list.
But then, I like the level of it.
Except for Jennifer.
Because it was like A-list, then you got your B-lists, then you got your C's.
Yeah, because you don't get distracted. And that's that's why the guy from Friends, you see, I can't even... That's how...
David Schwimmer.
People don't think of him like that. People will always see him as the guy from Friends, which is why it's hard for actors to get work like that, because people from EastEnders, if Phil Mitchell was to rock up into a Marvel casting, and you just see him as the new Thanos.
They'll be like, Phil!
Like, what is Phil doing? He's purple, that's Phil. It's like, that's not Thanos, that's Phil. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why you've hardly seen him in any shows. So for him to come up in this, he's done a really good job in kind of like, you kind of forgot he was from Friends. Yeah. He kind of embodied Rob quite well.
I think he was the best actor.
Yeah.
Well, he had to. He has a point to prove. And Marcia, of course.
Yeah, I loved his performance. Just everything. Just like the fact that it was like his faith was faltering with each episode. He was getting more doubtful.
The way it ended.
And the way it ended, where he tossed the Bible on the counter before he left OJ's house. I was feeling like that. That was perfect kind of symbolism. Like he gave up his faith. He had faith in him so much, but then gave up his faith by the end of it. So I thought that he did a good job. I thought the casting was A1. Like everyone kind of looked spot on and acted believable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that the only thing is that what's his name? Cuba Gooding. He didn't look like OJ, but he acted as if his acting was on point, but the look wasn't there.
I felt like he's an easy face to... Hear what I'm saying. It makes sense. There's some people who are so striking in the face that they become the character. So when you think of that name, you think of that face. Cuba's face is not forgettable, but it's like moldable. So it's like if you know what OJ looks like, you can watch him and think of OJ. Does that make sense? Like you can see past his face and see who he's acting.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't agree. I can't agree with that.
If Idris Elba was to do it, it's kind of like Idris. You're seeing Idris. All you're seeing is Idris. But Cuba's got an easy face, so it's kind of
like... I see it. Like it's like distracting.
Play-Doh. I don't know if that makes sense, but you can mold his face and just look. And like this woman, you can see Chris. But you don't know who the hell she is.
I felt like she wasn't a very good Chris.
She wasn't. She was a terrible Chris.
She was
a terrible Chris.
I felt like Cuba was... Cuba,
yeah, Cuba.
Cuba was like as you said, I saw him as Cuba, but the way he was acting, I was like, okay, this is OJ, but the face was just throwing me off.
I could see past the face.
I couldn't.
His acting was sick.
His acting was sick, but it's just that he didn't look like OJ. Like it was just like,
but he felt like OJ.
No, but it felt like OJ.
Yeah,
100%. No, I don't
get who OJ was. His acting.
So that kind of shows that his acting was so strong because they could have gotten a lookalike. But his acting was so strong that they said, "No, he had
definitely got a better Chris Darden." This one looks like something from Charmed or something. Look at the wig. But yes, no.
She wasn't giving me enough sass.
Especially for the person Chris is. I feel like they could have casted her. And the relationship with OJ as well behind the scenes during the case. Obviously they left that out because Chris would probably sue that out on him. But the status of which Chris is on, like, you know, the person who John Travolta was acting like, he was quite a high up socialite kind of lawyer back then. So that's why it made sense for them to get someone who kind of embodies that feel. Someone quite up there that when you feel like, when you're in their presence, you feel like they're of a higher power. Do you know what John Travolta, because he's an A-lister. Yeah. So, and that's the kind of person that lawyer was back then. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it made sense for that casting. So just on the point of Chris, who was a lesser part of this whole case, they could have done something better for the person she is and the kind of role she played in both OJ and Rob's life, especially during the case. Yeah. This is someone she slept with. Surely there could be a lot more emotion that was shown in that character. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because she was more or less in the middle.
She slept with who?
OJ.
Did she?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's why. Okay,
that's why.
Hello, Chloe.
I think it's his. I'm just saying.
Wow.
It looks very something. Oh
Are you serious?
People are saying that Chloe is OJ's daughter. Yeah. But Chloe doesn't want to find out until this very day. We still don't know if OJ is Thingy's dad.
It took me a while to clock on what you meant.
I think
it's
I don't think she's Armenian.
I don't. If it's not OJ's, then Chris was definitely having a bit too much wine and a bit too much. Because compared
to Courtney and Chloe, and even Rob, the son,
she's bigger.
Just different. Yeah.
Yeah, she had like the quinky blonde hair, didn't she? And she's got that nose. You know how black people's got
that nose. The nose. That's why I was just thinking of her face. I was like, that's why she doesn't look like the rest of the family. I was like, what? Yeah. That's
why she don't look like the rest of the family.
That's why she probably don't fit in.
And that's why she's the tallest.
Yes.
That's why she
got that black gene.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So, but yeah, anyway.
You see, if the show was...
Part 2.
Right. Okay, but I was good. Yeah. There's one question I wanted to get to, but I don't know if we touched on it already. I said, well, in the 9th and 10th episode, Judge Ito ironically describes the revelation of the tapes to the jury in its entirety to be due to cause undue prejudice. So, for the case, was the use of race in this case undue prejudice that overshadows the issue of domestic abuse, or was it a counterbalance against the issue of systematic racism? I know there's a lot of words in that, but I hope you guys could follow.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, and correct me if I'm answering the question wrong, if I'm being honest, I felt like race was forced onto this case because I really don't feel like it was a race thing at all, especially when it all happened. I felt like, and it even was shown in the show because the defense party was actually showing that, you know what, we're not going to win this case, so we're going to use race. We're going to pull the race card. This whole case was just an enhanced version of black people using the race card to win. Do you know what I mean? Well, we never actually do. We never actually do. But
for the record.
But like, that is just it being shown in the most exaggerated form. Like, we can't win, but we're black, so that's why you arrested us. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's how the case was argued. So I just felt
I get that point. Because that makes me think of like one of the other podcasts that we did where Charlie was like, us as black people, we sometimes like to do the whole feel sorry for myself. Like, he said something like, oh, I was the only one at work that left the cup in the sink, because I'm black, everyone's staring at me.
Oh yeah,
like, but you did something, you actually did something wrong, and it's not just because you're black, you actually just left the mug in the sink. Like,
So, I get you.
It's like when things don't pan out, it's always like
the race card.
It's because I'm black.
But that's what I'm saying. In some situations, it would be like, if we're talking about a mug in the sink, I'm sure every Linda and Barbara leave their mug in the sink. But why are you looking at me different? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I get it. But like in this case, I felt like it didn't need that. If they didn't bring out the race card, I'm sure it would have been a civilized case. The people seemed quite fair. It seemed like quite an unbiased jury, and the defense as well. It seemed like a fair case, you know? Do you know what I mean? It seemed like no one was actually racist. It just happened to happen. It just happened to have come out that one of the police officers working on the case has quite a racist history. The white guy.
No, but he was quite...
he was racist, but
it was a lot.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
It just happened.
It was just like... No, to be honest, it was coincidence and it was luck.
Yeah,
to be honest.
It was luck, because to be honest, there was blood in OJ's mansion. What wrong is there in him arresting the guy who owns his house? Do you know what I mean? There was nothing wrong there, but I felt like the race card was pulled up unnecessarily, but it was done, obviously. In law, you need to find a way to win, and that's what they done. Yeah. But they didn't need to bring it out, because obviously he could have easily just got put away anyway. So
okay. That seems to sum it up well. But Gladys, do you have any other final thoughts?
No.
Yeah, that was a good session.
Sam said.
Yeah. What Sam said.
What I said.